All schools have traditions, activities, and experiences that have evolved into rites of passage. At Four Rivers Charter Public School in rural Greenfield, Massachusetts, senior year comes with its own set of traditions. An orientation trip to Star Island off the coast of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, senior expedition, a year-long independent project, and the senior energy documentary. This is the 5th year for the documentary project. In this interdisciplinary endeavor, students investigate a national energy issue through the lens of a local case study, then work with peers to produce a documentary film on the topic. For us, the class of 2019, the process began in early September. We gathered together in the common room with our peers and a range of mystery documents, examining charts, graphs, and images to gain a preliminary overview of the national energy issue. Our next stop was the Greenfield Garden Cinema, where our teachers explained the challenge ahead. Steve ALVES, local documentary filmmaker, taught us about filmmaking and gave us advice for our journey.
Enjoy the process. You want to know you're going to finish it, but you don't want that to be an undue amount of pressure that doesn't allow you to be playful in the editing room.
Having watched 4 previous classes undertake this expedition, we had some sense of what to expect, but no idea how we were going to create a complete film in only a few months. Before we could get into filmmaking, though, we had to understand the bigger issues of energy in our national landscape. In physics and math, we discussed the levelized cost of energy as well as the science behind electricity generation. In civics, we used our study of systems thinking to explore the complexity of the issue, especially the social, political, and economic factors. While we were learning about issues on a national scale, we weren't expecting a disaster close to home. On September 13, 2018, an overpressurized gas line caused explosions in homes and businesses throughout the Merrimack Valley, less than 2 hours east of us. Suddenly, our discussions about the risks inherent in different forms of energy had a specific, tangible focus. In late October, we held a board meeting to choose the case study for our documentary, and ultimately decided to create a film about natural gas and the Merrimack Valley disaster.
I think that it's a good choice for a documentary because it's relevant. The gas explosions are something close by to us, like relatively, and it's stuff that we would be seeing in the news.
With the topic chosen, we had background knowledge to learn. The more we researched, the more complex the issue became. Suddenly, we were investigating not only the safety record of Columbia Gas, but the aging infrastructure of the entire natural gas system and the role of government oversight. We competed in a debate tournament with our peers on the topic of whether Massachusetts should take a more aggressive role in regulating energy companies. As November drew to a close, we turned our attention to fieldwork. Each of us took on different roles in pre-production, preparing for our upcoming work on location. The narrative was crucial, and a story team crafted the preliminary narrative arc we would use when planning our fieldwork. Some students became audio and camera technicians, learning to use the equipment essential to our process. Photographers worked alongside them, training in the principles of visual media. Other students sketched storyboard ideas. File managers developed a system for tracking and organizing footage. The interview team researched and contacted potential interview subjects alongside Ms. Durkee, our assistant principal and community outreach specialist. The issue evolved daily, so our breaking news team kept on top of news headlines and developments in the aftermath of the incident. From here, we divided into 4 independent film teams, each with a diverse range of skills and knowledge from our pre-production work. Our fieldwork culminated on December 13th, 3 months to the day since the explosions, when we all packed up the vans and headed to the affected towns on the North Shore. We interviewed politicians, activists, business owners, firefighters, and residents, hearing their stories and experiences, and seeing the aftermath firsthand. We stayed overnight on the floor of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation Church of Andover. The next day, we continued our interviews before heading back to Western Massachusetts.
I just liked not being at school and being able to explore new places.
and meet new people.
Some highlights of the process for me was definitely going out and filming things. Mostly the on-the-street interviews, because with that you had to go and find the people who had been affected, see what you could learn, and you didn't know exactly what you were going to come across at any of those.
So filming on location was really, really cool because we got to meet everyone that we had been researching previously, and it was just really interesting to hear these people's stories. For example, Bruce Gellerman, I hear his stories on the radio and WBUR all the time, but actually being able to go to the WBUR studios and meeting him in person was really amazing.
Well, when we were on fieldwork, it was really interesting to get the different stories from different places when they got their electricity back or if their restaurant could open. So it was really interesting and emotional for a lot of people to see those experiences. Before holiday break, we had over 150 gigs of footage to label, sort, and upload to the server. As soon as we returned in January, we set to work transcribing dozens of hours of interviews. Meanwhile, the story team became the script team, revising our original narrative to accommodate what we'd learned on location, and then turning that narrative into a script.
We've been working on it for like what feels like 2 years, and we're all going a little crazy, but it's good, and it's going to be better.
The one thing though is when we were writing the stories, we were like, and someone should research this thing to go here, and now that's
turns out that's
now we have to research it.
Being on the story team and the script team was really challenging a lot of the time because a lot of different groups depended on what we were doing, and we had to create an outline and a comprehensive script that people could follow for a whole documentary.
And we also had to make sure it included things that we found in our interviews, and like when we were, well, first we had to shape our interviews to what we wanted the story to be, and then we had to shape our story to what we ended up getting in the interviews.
When transcription ended, post-production jobs began. We divided into 4 editing teams. Each team had several tech specialists who used Adobe Premiere to actually create chapters of our movie. In addition, a footage specialist for each team kept track of the B-roll and interviews we had used so far, and found archival footage to supplement the content we'd filmed ourselves. Each team also had a Scrum Master. Scrum is an agile product management system used by many organizations worldwide, and this year we tried applying its principles to our own teamwork. The Scrum Master helped facilitate daily and weekly team meetings and promoted clear expectations and communication between teams.
Instead of having the typical teams where there's like someone in charge and other people do separate tasks, it's like everyone's doing everything at the same time. It takes away the phases from like research to the next thing, and it just mixes them all together, which is cool.
Besides these 4 editing teams, an animation team worked on graphics and animations for our film. Turning raw footage into a finished film was difficult. We faced the challenges of unfamiliar software. We also had to learn to work together, trusting our classmates to complete their tasks and figuring out what to do when people fell behind. The process was collaborative, and collaboration is never easy.
Group work is kind of hard to make sure everybody like gets what they need to get done. So I've kind of learned how to being able to be flexible.
As weeks passed, we faced the other problem common to the senior energy documentary: snow.
It was hard to work with pretty often changing groups. It was also hard to work around snow days and people being sick.
Our short editing window grew shorter as snow days forced us into a tighter schedule.
I feel like we're kind of behind schedule, and I think we're all feeling the stress of the end, and it'll be nice to have a completed product to show at the premiere. I hope that when we are all watching this on the big screen right now, it will be done and completed, but I cannot imagine that right now just because it feels like we're behind.
A few of our classmates stepped up as final editors. They helped us take the rough cut chapters and turn them into a finished documentary. We learned a lot throughout this expedition in both content knowledge and technical skills.
I learned a lot about
trying to edit both video and audio, because that was something that was very new for me and I'd never really done before. So it was really both very interesting and also a very new process.
I've learned how to use audio and Premiere things and how to use cameras. I've learned all of the tech things that I always thought I would never do.
I've learned that natural gas is used more than I thought it had been. And I also learned that it's not as clean as it's advertised. You know, you hear clean natural gas, clean energy, and through all of its leakings into the environment, it's very potent as a greenhouse gas. And it's just below being as dirty as coal is.
We probably know more about the big picture of like Merrimack Valley and Columbia Gas and the issues with the natural gas industry more than most people, because maybe anyone. We also learned a lot about working on teams.
We've done a lot of group work throughout this process, like every couple of weeks we're in a new group. So I've kind of learned how to work with a large range of people.
These groups can be challenging for others, and it's much different than the way I see it. So, especially being a facilitator and a scrum leader, how can I make everyone work in a way that's comfortable for them, but also productive?
I learned that my classmates are awesome.
Aww.
One word I would use to describe this process is patience.
Antagonizing.
Confusing.
Ambiguous, yeah.
Hard.
Thorough.
Perseverance.
Bonding.
Experience.
The Merrimack Valley disaster affected thousands of lives, and the consequences of this incident will forever change the energy landscape in America. We've worked to present this story in all its complexity with the compassion and seriousness it deserves, and we're looking forward to seeing the finished documentary.
We're making a pretty great film that will hopefully influence a lot of people.